Team, g'day. Sage here. Welcome to another episode of Scratch22. In today's episode, I'm going to take you for an insight into my very first lesson with Caroline Bradley, the PGA Professional at Cruz Hill Golf Club. And there she takes me through the fundamental things that are wrong with my swing and the things I'm going to need to change first if I'm serious about achieving my goal. But first I wanted to explain the essence behind Scratch22. You see, I'm starting from a 22 handicap and I want to get to Scratch by the end of next year. But from talking to other golfers online and other people that have become great golfers, have gotten close to Scratch, they say the biggest factor for anyone that wants to become a Scratch golfer is time. There are probably many golfers out there that have the capacity, they have the ability to become a Scratch golfer, but they simply don't have the time to go and practice, to go play the rounds. So to make this journey relatable to your average golfer, I'm going to try achieve a Scratch handicap without going absolutely willy-nilly on training. I'm only going to train and play and spend an amount of time doing those things that's realistic for your average person. So my mission here is to find the best drills, the best practice methods, the ones that are going to make you a better golfer. The small drills that are going to have a big impact on your golf. And hopefully maybe just one golfer out there will be inspired to find the time and do the work to become a better golfer. So now that we got that out of the way, let's head over to Cruz Hill where Caroline's taking me through my paces and my very first lesson in golf. See you there.
Okay, right. Your posture's reasonable, okay? However, you're way too close to the ball and you're very domineering with this hand and arm.
Right.
So the grip doesn't sit on the club particularly comfortable. And what happens is, as you take the club back, this arm has nowhere to go.
Right.
You get stuck with this wrist and you get stuck with this elbow.
Okay.
Okay. So just relax a second. So basically it looks a little bit like this. Okay. So but you're closer.
Okay.
So you're here and you're here.
Right.
So your body's trying to turn, which it is, but as you go, your wrists and your right elbow can't release, okay, because your right elbow is more domineering than your left.
Okay.
So as you go back, this doesn't know where to hinge.
Right.
So it comes back and it gets stuck, and then you manufacture a movement to get back to the ball. But you've got nice rhythm and you're gifted hand-eye ball coordination, so you can kind of make it work.
Right.
So straight away I want to get your hands in a nicer position. I want to get you to realise that this is comfortably, not locked, comfortably straight, and your right arm is just soft.
Okay.
So as you turn, this can just hinge away freely.
Sure. I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
However, we don't hold it in and we don't keep it in as we turn, but your joints aren't being allowed to work. As I say to people, if you go to throw a dart, you can't do that. You've got to let the joints go.
Right.
So your joints in your hands and arms have to go. Because you're in a bit of a position with this right hand holding the club, you're a little bit weak with your left, but we'll go through that. Because you're in a position with this right hand, even these can't hinge correctly. So there's no freedom. So then it gets stuck here, it gets stuck here, goes into the shoulder, and you've got nowhere to go.
I see. Okay.
You're a little bit close, so then you have to make space to get out the way.
Right.
Okay, so what I'm trying to do, I've addressed your hands first. Normally I'd address your posture first,
Right.
okay, which I would, because I'm a great believer. I can do whatever I want with my hands, but if I'm not in the right position to let my hands and arms be in a natural position themselves, then I'm going to struggle to get my hands on the club. So you stand a bit close to the ball, okay? So we're going to address the posture now to get you a little bit further back, and then we're going straight into the hands and arms. So if you, just point to where your hip is, just with one finger.
Where my hip is.
Where your hip is. So, so where you bend from, where's your hip?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so your hip joint. Hip joint.
Okay.
Hip joint. Okay, so your hip joint is here.
Right.
Okay, so the reason why I ask you to point there because people get confused to where the hip is.
Okay.
So we say when you want to bend, people will bend from here. We've got to get you to bend from here.
Right.
Okay, so we get a really nice hip hinge. So we're going to start to get you to bend from here. Then as you bend forwards, so the hips glide back, as you go forwards here, you gently let the pressure off your hamstrings there through the knees. Then from there, I'm going to help you through this. You then let your hands and arms hang, and you find you've got a nice gap between you and this hand, which is normally about a hand plus an inch either side. So just give me your club for a second. Okay, so now what I want you to do, just stand tall, put your hands on your hips, that's it. Get that nice feeling that you're going to let your hips glide back, but you're going forwards. That's it, that's enough. Now from there, as you've done that, your hamstrings have tightened.
Right.
Now very gently let your hamstrings off. No more, no more. Now let your hands and arms hang. Perfect. Now look at the gap you've got there.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, you've got a hand plus an inch either side. Now with your feet, your weight is in your arches, spread consistently from toes to heel. You're not in your heels and you're not in your toes.
Okay.
It's consistently there. If I put you back in your heels, you're not going to have really solid rotation as you
Right.
go back. And if I put you in your toes, you're not going to have solid rotation as you go back,
Yeah,
because
sure.
you haven't got that real sort of suction pad of the feet on the
Right.
floor, yeah, or on the ground. So do that again for me. So you stand tall, keep that head in line with spine. So you're not locking into any position. So it's gliding back. And as you're in that nice position, soft knees, then let your hands and arms go. Now just put your hands together as if you're saying your prayers. That's it. So always these have got to hang vertically.
Right.
Because if they hang vertically, they're going to drop back to the ball vertically.
Right.
Okay, just let them hang,
Okay.
and then you've got that distance.
Yeah.
Now that's going to feel massive to you,
Okay.
but it's not.
Okay.
It's giving you space to be able to move. Because right now, you haven't got the space to
Right.
move.
Okay.
Right, just stand up, just totally relax, okay? Just totally relax. Now I know we're not supposed to do this, but just go to shake my hand.
Okay.
Okay, right, look at that elbow.
Right.
That's the way that elbow has functioned,
Right.
okay? So you haven't gone, or you haven't gone, you've just let it function at its joint, how it does work. Right, so what I want you to do now is as you get this posture, and you put your hands together, just let that elbow just totally relax the way it needs to be in that relaxed position. Okay, that's it. Now from there, just go to shake my hand. Perfect.
Right.
Okay, now join them together. Okay, as if you've got your grip, if you can. Okay, so we're there, and just let that soft. Nice and soft. That's comfortably straight, that's soft. Make sense?
Yep.
Yeah? Just watch this for a second. So if I'm standing here, if I grip it quite kind of over here, I'm not saying this is you, but just so, and then I just drop the club, and then I let my hands go and I stand up, that's what I'm doing to my posture. So if I get a nice natural grip there, okay, if I drop the club, let my hands go. That's where I'm at. Yeah. So all the time we want to get you in the most natural position possible. So although you don't like this now, that is actually a natural position for your joints to work with.
Sure.
Whereas when we get a little bit under or a little bit over or a little bit weak or whatever way we choose to go, we start to work against our sort of skeletal structure.
Neutrality.
Yeah. Okay. So that's why I'm not going to talk about your golf swing because it's pointless. We've got to get the grip right,
Yeah, sure.
and we've got to get the posture right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're aware we're standing here today with a club that's standard, and you're like 6'1".
Sure.
So we're aware of that. So, but this is where we've got to get you to understand that we've got to we can't stay here because you've got to get away.
Yeah.
We've got to get you down, Hands and arms have to be vertical with irons, have to hang vertically. Because as you turn, as you want to come back to the ball, the hands and arms are going to want to just drop back to where they were at address.
Right.
If you're too far, they're going to have to find the ball. If you're too close, they're going to have to get away from you.
Yeah, sure.
So we have to create this space that they're easy. Yes.
So those were a couple of key moments from my very first golf lesson, and I hope that you took something away from that as well. I think gripping the club too hard is probably one that a lot of other golfers are doing. And I know for me personally, I never could have possibly understood what an impact that has on the rest of the swing, just by gripping the club too hard and that rigidness flowing through your wrist, through your elbow, right up into your shoulder. It impacts the whole swing. I always knew that getting a lesson was going to be important if I was ever going to be a chance of getting to Scratch by the end of next year. But I think after this lesson with Caroline, I think I had a whole new appreciation for that fact. I don't think I could ever have built that sort of understanding without being there in the flesh with a coach showing me these things. So for any of you out there thinking about getting a lesson, I know my first lesson had a huge impact on not just the way I'm swinging now, but my general understanding of the golf swing and how it should be working. So if you're thinking about it, I'd highly recommend it. So that's it for this week's episode. Coming up, I share some great tips for mental performance on the golf course, and I'll play around with a Scratch golfer just to see where the big differences are between a 22 handicapper and a Scratch golfer. Again, if you stayed with me this far, I appreciate it. See you next time. And don't forget,
like and subscribe, baby.